Well, after you start making art, you start, I think, wondering, where did this come from? Maybe a little bit. To get maybe perhaps a little more confidence in the work or in your voice. And it came to me quite late as well. I used to love doing drawings with Spider-Man and all that as a kid, but then forgot about it in science and math and all of those things. Sports, I didn't get to go into drama because I was doing sports. And so there was these choices that directed me for a while. I have a liberal arts degree as well. So it was in the pursuit of that degree at the last semester when OUC sort of became UBCO, and we got the fine arts moved from one campus to another, that I was able to start taking some fine arts classes just because the program itself moved to where the campus I was finishing my degree was at. My degree in international relations, my sort of world history degree, and then I was really interested in actually all the critical art theory more than even perhaps the practice at that point. Like, my mind was really curious about a new way of looking at history. And that was in the art, the making of the art in that time. I was learning about history through historical analysis, and now I could be learning about history through in that time of making, and how it felt to be there. So that was definitely the transition, and I took a photography course with Fern Heflin here. And at that point, I started doing photography. I became the photo editor for the Phoenix student newspaper on the campus. I wrote a political column, and I had photography right above it, full spread on the back page. Everybody looked at the photos. Nobody read the articles. And so I kind of got it, and I made a light box for Fern that was out of a blue toilet, believe it or not. I wanted to make the craziest light box she's ever seen. And there just happened to be this inaugural show at Vertigo called Blue. I had a blue toilet light box, so I put it in the show. Long before I knew who Marcel Duchamp was, I put a toilet in the show, and I showed up a little bit late to the party, and everybody was having a great time. The kids were playing with the lights, the guys were having a beer, the ladies were, oh my gosh, a toilet. So this was more people had interacted with that art than had ever read my best essays. And again, it reinforced that art was a way of communicating to more people, and I love that toilet. I scrubbed that toilet, like who does that, right? And so every part about the whole process I enjoyed, and I started going down that path after getting my first degree and transitioning, not to really get another degree, but I ended up getting another degree because of a lot of reasons, really. But so pleased and surprising that I became an artist at this point. And just, it's a lifelong pursuit. It's kind of like it's something I'll be with now forever. And it's exciting to know that as well, that they'll be producing art for a long time. And I'm excited to find out what that will be too. So I guess, and again, on reflection, because this is a surprise work for me, I've never done anything like this before. I was having a coffee with the curator, Liz Wiley, and I'm writing a play on ice. So I proposed this play on ice for our outdoor rink, and she says, that's good, I can write you a letter of reference to the city, that's a good idea. But, we got this kind of big drab space in the middle, the courtyard, what do you think about a garden? And I lit up, because it's funny how in my life, like in your work, what you do sort of is a reflection of where you're coming from. And I got really into gardening in these past couple of years around my yard. And I've had my house and such for like 10 years, but it's taken me 8 to really then get outside and start to reno the yard instead of just reno the house. And I have brought so much life to all the drab areas of my yard, all the dark corners. I put hostas or something that would love shade, or getting creative with the limits of what you have in front of you. And so I know this space quite well. I've been here for many shows and always wondered if it's huge, what would you do? So I get this vision, and I just love gardening. I've never been this excited for spring to happen. All the tulips I planted, and I just see a giant wall of plants, and I tell her that, and she's like, oh, wow. And then I was talking to her about my garden. So I think this really is an extension of my garden. This is the garden of my dreams, because she said, what would you do? And this is what I would do. The wall came as an impulse. And then as an installation artist, you deal with the space and the place. And So I had to deal with the cubic, huge area in front of the wall. You know, the wall, it would be awesome and all, but it would leave a big empty space to be answered as well. And so having a columnade of planted things, and what came to me first was just strawberries, just vertically growing strawberries. And then I started planting the strawberries up, and it was just too not like the wall. And so from there, it evolved to just companion cropping, I guess, at best. And hopefully everything lives well together and folds down. But it's an extension of the garden and my passion for gardening and for dealing with the place. And taking something that's familiar and from the real world and just flipping it a little bit so that you see it differently. And also with this particular, with the plants, we always see them horizontally. Now we get to see them vertically, and it changes our relationship with them, I think. And we've always found that, I think, color and life is beautiful. So it's an easy medium to work with, but it was fun to sort of think of it sculpturally and in a painterly fashion also. To, again, use materials in a new way. And for people then to go from here and see their own gardens in a new way, or maybe to do their own fences, or like, hopefully it's an inspiring work in that regard. I think it's a new term in art because it's been around forever. I mean, you could put a thumbtack and win the Turner Prize because the thumbtack filled the space. And that's, I think, in a way, to talk about installation is to talk about the place. You install a place and you deal with the space, and whether it's a painting on the wall, how does it work with the place? Some paintings can go to any wall and it won't matter, and that's why it's a painting and not an installation. But you can take a painting and definitely install a room with it. For me, you talk about the place and making you feel it everywhere around you. It's not just your eyes even. It's better if you can do more sensors, and that is a challenge. And to see this in my brain and then to make it happen, that's when the work begins. And there's a lot of work in installation. Like, it's a labor of love, and it's a part of the process that I enjoy because you learn a lot of the mechanics, and the tangible thing in sculpture is putting two things together, or in this particular work, making sure it doesn't fall down. And those are really important things to figure out on the way to achieving, you know, a vision. But at any rate, it's got to work for when the people come in. They've got to sort of feel the space that they're in.